Meanwhile, Helm walks towards the table of Deculein full of pride. Each step he takes shows just how highly he thinks of himself. Lilia watches him closely. Her thoughts race as she tries to match the man in front of her with what she knows. She quietly guesses that this must be the head of the ruined family. Confusion starts to grow inside her. She wonders what's going on all of a sudden. Helm speaks. He sounds like someone who has had more than enough to drink. His words stumble out, asking why Deculein acted the way he did during their last meeting. He questions if Deculein is trying to start trouble with another noble family. His voice drips with doubt and accusation. Then he takes it further and asks Deculein if he is siding with the Blood Shrouds. Despite the harsh words, Deculein shows no emotion. His face remains still unreadable. Across from him, Julia looks shocked. Her eyes widen as she tries to process what she's hearing. Inside, she cries out in disbelief, but she says nothing. Helm continues. He asks Deculein that he said he wanted to annihilate them before, did he not? Years ago, he swore to destroy the Blood Shrouds, calling them vile and worthless. Even the university still keeps records of the essays he wrote against them. Helm moves closer, his words turning into open mockery. He suggests that Deculein may have captured one of the Blood Shrouds to conduct research for him, and now suddenly feels the need to protect them. Hearing this, Alan loses control. His anger spills out as he slams his hand on the table, and the force shakes the room and silence falls for a moment. But before Alan can speak further, Deculein lifts his hand slowly, brushing his mouth. Deculein shows no signs of being bothered. He tells Alan to let it go. According to him, the tiny brain of Helm is like rotten cheese, stuck in his own mess of foolish thoughts. Deculein adds that he understands what's going on, and none of it is worth getting upset over. The blonde noble clenches his teeth in anger, but forces a tight smile, trying to hide his frustration. He throws one last challenge at Deculein, warning him that his time is almost up. The deadline for the research project is coming closer. Perhaps 6 months, or even less. In a mocking tone, he hints at the downfall he hopes to see. Then he turns and walks away, leaving only silence behind. Julia stays seated, unable to move for a moment. Her chest feels heavy, and her fingers begin to tremble. Her thoughts swirl in confusion. Deculein siding with the Blood Shrouds. The man she knew never seemed like someone who would go against the whole world for them. Doubt creeps into her heart. She recalls something Lockhart once told her. Words she didn't believe at the time. But now, those words echo back more clearly than ever. A few days later, before leaving the city of Birched, Deculein visits a famous shop that sells magical equipment. The place is well known across the land, and many strong mages come here for their tools. Inside, Deculein meets one of the best wand makers. Deculein asks him to create a new magic staff. Deculein ends up completing a hidden side quest. This quest is linked to the making of a powerful wand called Rockalock. To complete the quest, several steps are required. He needs to become famous or feared, choose a path of kindness or cruelty, use rare materials, and visit the shop more than once. It turns out he had already done all of these things. His name is already known, his choices are bold, and his first visit helped set everything in motion. Without even planning it, Deculein has unlocked a secret path and cleared a hidden challenge simply by being who he is. After finishing all matters at the High Council, Deculein boards a train with his assistant to return to the Academy. Their journey back to the Empire is quiet at first, but soon they realize they must share the train compartment with Vithan. Vithan looks at them with anger and hatred and makes no attempt to hide his hostility. Thankfully, no real fight breaks out during the trip. The hours pass, and the train continues its path through the snowy lands. Deculein remains silent, his mind drifting through the events of the past days. So much has happened, and each moment weighs heavily on him. The long and difficult journey is finally reaching its close. They reach the station. The place is filled with energy and movement. Alan stretches his arms after sitting for so long, then turns to his professor. He tries to lighten the mood, wondering if their next ride will show them something new. Perhaps something beyond the cold white snow they've seen for days. Before Deculein can give an answer, a group of swordsmen approaches. His fiancée Julie is leading them. She is walking with firm steps. Her face carries a quiet sadness darker than before. It's clear that her heart is still hurting. The memory of Varen's death hangs over her like a shadow. Her voice drops as she speaks, full of emotion she tries to hide. She mentions the ambush Deculein faced during the trip and expresses how lucky it is that he made it back alive. Deculein responds with a quiet nod. He offers simple thanks, knowing that Julie likely already knows what happened. Her loyalty to her people runs deep. Losing someone like Varen must be tearing her apart. Behind her, the soldiers stand still. Their eyes watch Deculein with cold distance. It is clear they do not welcome him. He understands why. They see him as the only one who returned. He looks at their faces, wondering just how much they have been told. Julie clenches her fists, trying not to let her pain break through. Her voice shakes, but she forces the words out. She says she read the reports, the ones that told how he and Varen fought together to protect the others. But one question remains inside her, too heavy to keep in any longer. She bites her lip, looks him straight in the eyes and asks, "How did Varen die?" Many had expected anger or blame from Julie, but instead what fills the space is quiet grief. A deep and painful sadness shines in her eyes, the kind that comes from losing someone truly important. She looks straight at Deculein, her gaze full of heartbreak and questions that cannot be answered. Deculein meets her eyes, but words refuse to come. There are things he could say, truths that could change everything. But those truths would hurt her more than she already hurts now. Inside, Deculein struggles. He thinks about telling her everything. That Varen had turned against him, that the ambush had been planned, and the attack was no accident. He remembers how their fight ended in a way no one could have imagined. Earlier, he believed that telling the truth was the right thing. But now, looking at Julie, he hesitates. She is strong, but not cold. Her heart still carries warmth and care. Deculein knows that if she learns what Varen did, she will not only mourn him, she will also blame herself. She has always taken the pain of others as her own. Every mistake, every failure from someone under her command becomes her burden. If she knew the truth, she might never forgive herself. Some truths are too heavy to share. Even if it means she might resent him later, Deculein decides not to tell her the truth. Suddenly, the conductor's voice echoes through the station. The call for the train breaks the silence, stirring the crowd around them. People begin to move quickly, rushing toward their platforms. Time is running out. Deculein knows he must say something, even if it is not the full truth. He finally speaks in a calm, steady voice. He tells her that it is difficult to say, but Varen had simply become too emotional. Julie hears his words and slowly lowers her gaze. Her expression shifts. Pain still lingers, but something inside her seems to settle. She knows Varen well. She understands without needing every detail. She gives a small nod, showing quiet acceptance, and thanks him before turning away. Then, she and her group leave quickly, disappearing into the crowd. Deculein remembers the moment clearly. Varen, hanging from the side of the train, caught between life and death. That image stays in his mind. Strangely, he begins to feel that he and Varen were not so different after all. Powerful emotions have the strength to twist a person's thoughts. They can turn anyone into someone unrecognizable. But now, after everything, Deculein wonders, what path truly matters in the end? Once the knights leave, Alan speaks up right away. His voice carries frustration. He feels wronged, upset by the way the soldiers looked at them. In their eyes, he saw blame, not sympathy. He reminds Deculein that they were victims too. But Deculein stays calm, not showing a single sign of anger. He brushes it off with cold detachment, calling their judgment foolish. Suddenly, a voice calls from behind. Someone familiar. Sylvia appears, walking toward them. She is also returning to the academy on the same train. Her eyes are steady as she looks at Deculein. She tells him here is a gift and then pulls a book from her bag and hands it to him. Her words are quiet, and before he can say anything, she turns and walks away. Alan watches the exchange, confused. He asks what just happened, but Deculein has no answer. A tired breath escapes him. His body and mind are worn down from the long journey. Even now, with everything finished, he feels no relief. The only thing he wants is rest. He looks over at Alan and gives a small nod. It is time to go back. On the same train, but in another car, Julie and her group of knights stop near the site of the ambush. The place is not far from the 4th station, less than an hour away from Birched. An agent from the security bureau meets them and begins to explain what was found. According to the report, Professor Deculein did all he could to protect the passengers during the first ambush. He worked side by side with Knight Varen to hold off the attackers and rescue those in danger. The agent shares several photos taken by a nearby photographer. One image shows something strange. After the second attack, the train was thrown off a cliff. But somehow the VIP car where Deculein stayed remained floating in midair. Because the area is so isolated, there is little evidence beyond what the survivors have said. Julie confirms that she already read the article before arriving. She has seen the photo of Deculein sitting calmly in that suspended car. The officer laughs a little, making light of the story. He says Deculein seemed like a one-man army, holding off the enemies alone. But none of the knights laugh with him. Their expressions stay cold. Their comrade had died, while the man they didn't trust had lived. The air grows heavy with quiet anger, and the officer quickly moves on. In short, the report concludes that both Deculein and Varen survived the first wave. But during the second strike, Varen fell into the ravine and never came back. Julie bows and thanks, keeping her emotions in check. One of the knights steps forward and asks if anything belonging to Varen was recovered. The answer is no. There is nothing. Then another asks about the attackers, who planned the ambush. The officer's tone changes. He tells them, no one will be looking into it. There is an unspoken rule. No investigations are allowed into crimes that take place along the road to Birched. The other knights continue asking the officer more questions, hoping for extra details about the ambush. Julie says nothing. She quietly walks away from the group, heading toward the edge of the cliff. Her eyes follow the steep drop down into the canyon below. The fog hangs thick over the sharp rocks and broken train pieces. The land beyond stretches out in white silence, a frozen and lonely place. Looking down, a heavy feeling grows inside her chest. The memory of Varen falling into that emptiness feels too real. Her thoughts twist with pain. She calls him her right hand in her mind, the person she trusted most in battle. Now he is gone, lost in a place where no light reaches. It feels too cruel. She tells herself she should be used to this. Losing people, letting them go. But her heart won't accept it. Old memories come back. Varen's past was full of struggle. He had nothing from the beginning. He was born into poverty, pushed down by a world that gave him no chances. But he never gave up. Through hardship, through endless effort, he climbed his way up. He became someone strong, someone she could rely on. Now he is just a name lost in the wind. Her mind repeats the same question over and over. What really happened that day? Back at the Yukline family estate. Deculein has finally returned home. His body is tired from travel, his spirit even more worn out. But before he can rest, the loud scream of his sister echoes through the halls. Uriel Yukline stands in the grand entrance, and she is hell angry. She has just found out about Deculein's latest expenses. The amount he spent is far beyond what she can accept. Her patience runs out in an instant. She accuses him of wasting the family's money on things that don't matter. Her face burns with frustration, and her voice rises louder with every word. The butler rushes over to calm her, trying to bring peace. But Uriel pushes him aside without a second thought. She is too angry to stop now. She reminds Deculein of the warnings she had given him again and again. Their family's fortune is not endless. If he continues like this, they will not last another 2 months. The mention of their finances reaching the edge of collapse strikes a nerve in Deculein. Worry grows inside him. His mind quickly returns to the cost of the magic staff, which is far more expensive than he had expected. This, then, is the result of his careless decisions. The thought of having only 2 months before the Yukline family crumbles is a heavy one. Something must be done, and it must be done now. Deculein speaks, trying to calm Uriel down. He says he already has a plan to recover the lost money. Uriel stares at him with clear suspicion. She demands to know what plan he is talking about. But instead of answering her, he gestures for her and Roy to follow him. They head down to the storeroom, where all the auction items have been kept since his return. Uriel glares at the collection of objects piled inside. Her face is full of disbelief and frustration. The renowned source Selena. In her eyes, it looks like a random display of useless things bought only to show off money they don't have. Deculein hears the judgment in her tone and already knows what she is thinking, that he is a reckless man bringing shame to their name. Letting out a tired sigh, he tells her to wait. He also reminds her to speak more like someone ready to lead a noble house. Uriel snaps back with anger, accusing him of being the real problem. She refuses to take advice from someone who she believes is ruining their entire future. Once again, Roy steps in, trying to calm the storm between them. At first, Deculein himself had not fully understood why those auction items felt so valuable. He had seen them like works of art, something to collect and admire. But during his recent trip to Birch, something became clear. These items are more than decorations. They hold real potential for profit. With that in mind, he uses his special ability. Midas Touch. A faint glow rises from one of the items, a porcelain vase. He watches carefully, feeling the magic respond. Uriel watches too, but her face remains unimpressed. To her, it just looks like her brother is playing around again. She calls him out with sharp words, accusing him of wasting her time. Roy tries again to calm the situation, but Deculein stops him. In a firm tone, he says he will re-auction the items. He gives Roy the order to call an appraiser and prepare everything for resale. Uriel goes in shock, unable to believe what she's hearing. To her, antiques are meant to be held onto, not flipped for quick money. She warns him he might lose even more this way. Deculein shuts the argument down without raising his voice. He will not be pulled into another shouting match. He turns to Roy and repeats his order. The butler, though clearly confused, bows his head and rushes to carry it out. Deculein turns his focus back to the porcelain vase, the one touched by his Midas ability. A glowing panel appears in front of his eyes, filled with details about the item. It is no longer just a simple piece of decoration. This vase was crafted by a master from the East, someone whose heart and skill now rest inside the object itself. The touch of Midas has awakened its true form. Now any flower placed inside the vase will never fade. Each petal inside gives off a healing effect, some strong enough to reach high-level recovery. A proud smile forms on his face. What once had a value of 2.5 million elm has become something beyond price, a rare and powerful artifact. Part of him already feels hesitant to let it go. The servants handle the vase with extreme care, their hands trembling. Deculein raises his voice, warning them to treat it like the treasure it is. He says it is worth more than their lives. Uriel stands frozen. Her mouth hangs open, too shocked to speak at first. She cannot believe he truly plans to sell everything. In her eyes, this looks like madness. But Deculein answers her with full confidence. He believes they are about to earn far more than they lost. He sees profit where she sees danger. Uriel throws up her hands, shouting in frustration, but Deculein doesn't let it bother him. He changes the topic on purpose, acting as if nothing is wrong. With a calm tone, he says it's time to head to work and turns to leave. Uriel screams after him, but he keeps walking, leaving her fuming behind him. Meanwhile, in the University Tower of Magic, inside the club room of the Magic Exploration Society, the mood is light and cheerful. Ephraim sits at a table, playing cards with her classmates. She lays down her hand with a wide grin, showing a strong combination. He gasps, unable to believe her luck. Another student joins in, saying it's her third win in a row. With that victory, Ephraim escapes the weekly cleaning duty. She leans back in her chair, clearly enjoying the moment. Another girl grumbles about almost winning, but Ephraim only laughs. She brushes off her words with a playful smile, calling it nothing but excuses, and everyone laughs. For a short moment, Ephraim feels like she is living a dream. A soft thought passes through her mind. She is only the daughter of a baron. In the past, even thinking about joining a place like the Tower of Magic felt impossible. On her first day here, no one welcomed her. The other students looked down on her without reason. Even the professors treated her as if she didn't belong. Time has passed since then. Many things have changed. Now she sits at a table surrounded by classmates, laughing and playing cards in the Magic Exploration Club. It is a small moment, but to her it feels precious. In her heart, she starts to feel real happiness. She smiles quietly to herself, thinking that maybe this little club is the place she belongs to. Her bestie gives her a confused look, surprised by her dreamy expression. She reminds Ephraim that they're just a regular club, nothing special. Ephraim snaps out of her thoughts and nods, embarrassed but still smiling. Suddenly, the door bursts open with a loud noise. A voice crashes into the room, full of anger and insult. The shouting man storms in, and right behind him is walking an idiot student wearing a smug grin. These two are well known, Professor Relin and his left ball Beck. Their faces always appear when something involves students from lower ranks. Ephraim's heart sinks. She knows what's coming. Every time commoners are involved, these two never miss a chance to cause trouble. Relin walks straight to the club's banner, his face twisted in disgust. He mocks the name of the club and questions their right to even exist. No one speaks. The room goes quiet and the laughter disappears. Ephraim stands still for a second. Her thoughts race. This is not a surprise. She expected this kind of attack. This is not a friendly visit. It is an attempt to tear them down. But she came prepared. She breathes in slowly, then speaks with calm and steady words. She explains that the club was formed through proper steps. Everything was done the right way. They are not breaking any rules. The Magic Exploration Club is official, and it has every right to be here. Professor Relin's face grows darker with suspicion. He is sure that Ephraim is lying. He leans in and points a finger straight at Ephraim, raising his voice in anger. He demands to know who approved the club, clearly convinced she is making it all up. Then he suddenly remembers her. He mocks her again, calling her out for being the same commoner who had gotten into trouble before. His voice drips with contempt. Hearing that word over and over again, commoner, something sharp awakens in her eyes. A cold fire burns quietly behind her calm expression. A strong urge to stand up and strike back rises in her chest, but she holds herself still. Relin notices the look on her face and smirks. He mocks her again for daring to stare at a professor. He orders her to look away, treating her like she is beneath him. Ephraim's bestie rushes to her side and whispers for her to stay calm. She reminds her they have no reason to be afraid. Beck, standing beside Professor Relin, laughs softly to himself. He clearly enjoys seeing Ephraim cornered like this. Relin continues pushing. He demands once more to know who approved of the club. He refuses to believe that any professor in the entire tower would support something he sees as worthless. Then Ephraim hears it. Footsteps. Steady. Familiar. The sound instantly grabs her attention. She turns her head without thinking, knowing exactly who it is. Relin notices the sudden change in her expression. His smirk grows wider. He sees her hesitation and takes it as proof that she is lying. He accuses her again, this time more cruelly than before. But before he can say anything else, a voice cuts through the room. It is quiet but firm. Everyone goes still. The voice carries power, and no one dares to speak. Deculein stands in the doorway, calm and serious. His eyes lock onto Relin with a look as sharp as a blade. Then, without raising his voice, he makes it clear. He is the one who approved of the club and asks Relin if he has a problem with that. Words of Deculein slams into the room like a hammer. The magical pressure in the air grows thick and heavy. Relin feels it immediately. Cold sweat trickles down his spine, and his legs begin to shake under pressure. Every breath becomes difficult. Ephraim stands frozen, eyes wide. Her thoughts race in confusion. One question flashed through her mind: why Professor Deculein is here? Nothing about this moment makes sense to her. Deculein stands tall. He is facing Relin, showing no sign of backing down. His eyes hold clear irritation. He repeats that he is the one who approved of the club. Then he addresses Relin directly, pointing out that his shouting could be heard from the hallway. He demands to know if there is a real problem, or if decisions now require permission slips and approval stamps from Relin. Tension builds fast. Students look around nervously, exchanging glances, unsure whether to speak or stay quiet. Though he stands tall, a deep tiredness pulls at Deculein from inside. His mind replays the events of the day. Uriel shouting about their finances, the two professors stirring up trouble here, and now Relin is complaining as soon as he gets to work. All of it stirs a burning anger beneath the surface. But Deculein holds himself steady. He remains calm, collected, refusing to show weakness. Rilin's face turns pale. He is sweating. His hands shake as he fumbles for an excuse. He tries to cover up his actions by pointing at the club room, claiming that his concern was for its poor condition. He says the room is too shabby for proper use and promises to renovate it himself. His voice trembles beneath the pressure. Hearing this excuse, Deculein laughs silently to himself. In his thoughts, he compares the man to a merchant in a shady market, always ready with a fake smile and empty promises. Deculein does not waste energy arguing further. His reply is smooth, almost polite, but every word carries sarcasm. He agrees with Rilin, pretending to appreciate his so-called concern. He says yes, the room is messy, and he'll keep it in mind, but the sharpness in his voice makes it clear he isn't fooled. Then his eyes shift to Beck, the boy who had stirred everything from the shadows. Glaring at him, Deculein says those akin to cockroaches will always act like them. Then, not giving either of them a chance to respond, Deculein turns around and walks away. His steps are slow but certain, leaving behind silence and shame. Then, he moves down the hallway. Behind him, Beck stays frozen in place like a statue carved from shame. His cheeks burn bright red, and the muscles in his jaw tighten as he grits his teeth hard enough to be heard. But no matter how much anger fills him, there is nothing he can do. There is no path forward against someone like Deculein. Later, inside the classroom, the mood is lively. Students speak in hushed voices, their words rising and falling like the sound of waves crashing at a quiet beach. Whispers pass through the room. Some talk about how long it has been since Professor Deculein taught a class. Others wonder what kept him away, how he has been constantly occupied, always at the center of something new. The recent train incident still lingers in everyone's mind. Talk of a floating train and the ambush appears again. Many had read about it in the Wizard magazine just last month. Even now, the story feels unbelievable. Sylvia is sitting quietly in her seat, her gaze fixed on the surface of her desk. She doesn't join in the chatter around her. She seems lost in thought. At the front of the classroom, Deculein raises his hand and gives the lectern a gentle tap. The soft sound is enough to bring the room to silence. All attention turns toward him. He begins the lesson without delay and says the topic for today is the study of pure elements and how magical interference works. The explanation starts with the basics. Magical interference happens when one wizard casts a spell and another steps in, replacing or disrupting that magic with their own. Before diving deeper, Deculein decides to warm the class up with a hands-on example. Alan walks slowly to the front, carrying a wooden crate filled with magical stones. Each one holds power inside. At that moment, Deculein snaps his fingers, casting a well-controlled telekinesis spell. A magnetic field forms around the stones, lifting them into the air. They begin to glow, floating gently and shining like tiny stars across the classroom. A quiet sense of wonder spreads among the students. One by one, the glowing stones drift toward the desks of the students and stop just in front of their faces. The eyes of students light up with interest. Deculein explains that each stone is worth 3,000 elm, and whoever can break through his mental spell and take control of the stone can keep it. Before he even finishes his sentence, overexcited Ephraim slams both her hands against the desk, saying yes, sir. Her eyes sparkle with determination. For her, 3,000 elm is not just a prize, it is a small fortune. Coming from a noble family with little money, she knows how much that amount means. Her friend sitting beside her quickly reaches over and covers her mouth. Though slightly bothered by the sudden outburst, Deculein stays composed. Without showing irritation, he continues the lesson. He explains that in real combat, protecting one's own magic is just as important as casting it. Any interruption before the spell is complete means defeat. So those who master defensive techniques often gain the upper hand. But instead of talking more, he gives the class a chance to prove themselves. The challenge begins. The students waste no time. Energy rises throughout the room as each one focuses their mind, trying to break through the professor's spell and seize the floating stones. While watching them, Deculein begins to think to himself. His thoughts wander back to the moment on the train when he had stopped the entire convoy and held it in the air. That powerful feat had shocked many, but the truth behind it was different. What he used was a basic mental technique, something he had only recently started learning. It wasn't perfect yet. It still needed time, training, and refinement. Inside, he feels quiet curiosity. He wonders how long he can hold his focus with so many students attacking at once. 150 sharp young minds, all of them talented first years. He wants to see how well he can stand against this new generation. Sylvia and Ephraim both concentrate hard. They don't hold anything back. But the difficulty of the task soon becomes clear. The telekinesis of Deculein holds strong. Ephraim still wears her usual cheerful smile. Her thoughts stay bright, even while struggling. She reminds herself that magical tools are expensive. Her personal funds are already drying up. In her heart, she thanks Deculein for the rare opportunity. A free magical stone is more than a gift to her, it's a miracle. She quietly promises herself she'll take one, if she can manage to break through. Sylvia steals a quiet glance at Ephraim, and her thoughts swirl with emotion. Deculein's earlier words echo in her mind, how Ephraim had reached this point through her own effort. That single thought lights a fire in Sylvia's chest. A new drive rises within her. Losing is not an option, especially not to Ephraim. The battle between the two becomes fierce, even if no words are exchanged. Each girl gives her best, unwilling to fall behind. The rest of the class struggles. Most students cannot break through Deculein's mental spell. Some push themselves too hard and end up with nosebleeds. Others shake from exhaustion, unable to keep going. From his spot nearby, Alan watches the scene. He can't hold back his admiration. He cannot help but praise Deculein. His telekinesis skill is too OP. Even with so many students attacking at once, not a single weak point can be found. This honest praise surprises even Deculein. Deculein reflects, speaking truthfully, he is also flustered. He didn't know the debutants wouldn't be able to interfere with it, despite them putting their all into it and their noses bleeding. Suddenly, a shift occurs. One of the stones trembles in the air. Deculein's attention sharpens instantly. His magic has been disturbed. The first successful interference comes from Sylvia. She sits there, breathing heavily. Sweat drips from her forehead. The effort clearly drained her. She turns her head slightly, eyes landing on Ephraim, who is still locked in battle with her own stone. A small sigh of relief escapes her. For the moment, she believes she's the only one who succeeded. Deculein steps forward, voice firm but encouraging. He praises Sylvia for being the first to complete the task. Sylvia blinks in surprise at his words but remains calm, offering only a small nod in return. Deculein had expected her to pass this test, but seeing how much strength she needed to do it makes him think deeper. He looks around the classroom and wonders if there is anyone else who could do it. The room remains tense. No breakthroughs, no movement. But before he can finish his sentence, he senses it, another pulse of interference. A small smile touches his face. Someone else has done it. Sylvia snaps up. Surprise floods her expression. In her heart, she didn't expect another success so soon. It turns out it is Ephraim who did it. She is sitting in her seat with a proud smile. Her body, however, is shaking from exhaustion. Her strength is nearly gone, but her joy glows brightly. In her mind, the prize is already hers. The 3,000 eln are within her reach. Sylvia is jealous. She stares at Ephraim, grinning. This rivalry isn't over. It's only getting stronger. The students continue pouring all their strength into the task. Minds are pushed to the limit as they try to break through Deculein's mental barrier and grab the floating magical stones. Sweat covers their faces. Blood trickles from some of their noses. Even with so much effort, not one of them comes close to touching their goal. The smell of sweat mixes with the quiet groans of overworked bodies. Deculein notices the change. The situation begins to slip out of control. Without delay, he tells everyone to stop. His words are clear. It is time to end this before anyone gets seriously hurt. Right after he speaks, a student leans forward and throws up on the desk from dizziness. Others begin to drop one by one. Some faint, some fall over in their seats. The room quickly turns into a scene of exhaustion and collapse. Deculein sighs, frustration hidden beneath his calm tone. He feels disappointed. He tells them to take a break and rest. At the same time, he reminds them to clean up after themselves. The students slowly rise from their chairs, legs shaking. Their movements are unsteady, as if one more step could bring them to the ground. Among them, Ephraim's bestie turns her head weakly, her face pale and tired. She looks at Ephraim and asks how she managed to do it. No matter how hard she tried, even with everything she had, she couldn't break through. Ephraim rests her head against the desk. She is also trying to catch her breath. With a trace of pride, she tells her bestie that she almost blacked out, and she can't even feel her tongue anymore. But somehow she thinks she understood something. Maybe she figured it out. Her bestie in disbelief. She didn't expect to hear that. Ephraim explains that she doesn't know much about telekinesis. But when she tried, it felt like something opened, like something gave way, as if she broke through a barrier. Her bestie stares at her in amazement, unable to hide the admiration. A soft compliment escapes her lips. In the distance, Sylvia is watching everything. A strange feeling starts to grow inside her chest. She frowns. None of it makes sense. Ephraim, the girl who used to be at the bottom of every test, now stands in second place. That jump is too sharp to ignore. She knows there is no bias here. Deculein wouldn't play favorites. Still, an idea forms in her mind. Maybe something has been going on in secret. Maybe Professor Deculein has been giving Ephraim personal guidance. Maybe something is being kept hidden from her. Sylvia then stares at Ephraim again. Her gaze is cold now, sharper than before. The old look of contempt is gone. In its place is caution. Suspicion. She remembers the prophecy. Ephraim is said to become one of the 3 greatest magicians of this era. Sylvia clenches her jaw. In her mind, Ephraim seems arrogant now. But the truth is clear. This rivalry has changed. What began as silent dislike is now something deeper. The fire inside Sylvia burns hotter. A storm is coming, and both girls stand at the center. A little later, the students return to their seats, still recovering from the earlier challenge. The energy in the room is quiet but focused. After the intense and exhausting warm-up, Deculein stands once more at the front of the classroom, ready to begin the next part of the lesson. His voice remains calm and steady, but there's a natural charm in the way he speaks that pulls every student's attention. No one looks away. He begins to explain the technique he used during the exercise. The students had all worked hard trying to interrupt his mental magic. But what many don't realize is that there's an easier way to break through psychic spells, one that doesn't drain so much energy. Those who succeeded may have noticed something. It isn't a high-level trick or an ancient secret. In truth, the method is surprisingly simple. The real key is mana disruption, but not the usual method everyone knows, where one tries to block a spell after it's already been cast. This form of disruption is different. It involves reading and understanding the flow of the opponent's magic and stepping in before the spell is completed. Deculein pauses here. His eyes scan the classroom. The students listen closely, hanging on to each word. Then he explains why this method is not widely practiced. Most people think of mana disruption as something only strong mages with multiple magic circles can pull off. The truth is, it only works on spells the user already understands. That makes it limited. Because of this, most wizards choose easier methods, like putting up shields or using different spells to defend themselves. But in his view, trying is still better than giving up. He urges them to take this lesson seriously and learn the core idea behind it. The most difficult part of mana disruption lies in finding the center of the magic circle. Each spell, depending on its purpose, whether attack, support, or elemental, has a unique core. That center controls the flow of the entire spell. To disrupt magic successfully, the student must first identify that core and then break it from within. Once this becomes familiar, the technique becomes much easier to perform. With practice, mana disruption can be one of the most powerful tools in a wizard's skill set. Deculein walks to the board and begins sketching diagrams with clean, precise lines. Magic circles take shape one after another under his hand. He continues explaining the method to find the central flow of common spells. He starts with an offensive lightning spell, pointing to its inner structure. These spells, he explains, channel their force outward, beginning from a combustion point in the center. The flow always moves from the core to the edges. After that, he shifts to support and healing magic. These types follow a different structure, gentler, but more layered. He explains how their energy spirals inward and stabilizes around the target. The students try hard to follow. Pens move quickly across notebooks. Eyes flick between the board and their notes. But Deculein's pace picks up slightly, and not everyone can keep up. Some struggle, their writing messy and rushed. The lesson continues without pause. Minutes stretch into hours. The classroom becomes quiet in a different way, not from discipline but from concentration. A thick tension hangs in the air as minds work through the complex information. Tired eyes focus harder with every passing second. Deculein glances at the clock. Time has already passed far more than he expected. He exhales softly and stops writing. The remaining material will have to wait. He announces that the lecture is over. There's more to cover, but the time is up. And in his view, the class already wasted too much of it. He gives a sharp reminder. The students will need to study the rest on their own. Midterms are coming soon. Before that, they'll be tested in a practical open exam. Everything they learned today will matter. He ends the class with a final word and quickly exits the room. No explanation. No chance for questions. Confusion spreads across the classroom. Several students exchange puzzled glances. Some whisper to each other, unsure why the professor left so suddenly. One says, it feels like you stopped pooping halfway into it. Ephraim's red-haired bestie leans back. She stretches her arms with a long sigh. The lesson left her completely worn out. Her body feels heavy, and her head is filled with too much information. The idea of figuring it all out alone doesn't sit well with her. Ephraim, however, sits with a different expression. She lights up with a quiet smile. Something about the lesson felt right to her. She can't explain it clearly, but deep inside, it feels like a new door has opened. But that calm moment doesn't last. A cold voice suddenly interrupts them. Someone mockingly calls her the commoner representative. She turns her head quickly and sees Beck standing there. He seems full of pride and annoyance, and of course he is here to cause trouble. Immediately, Ephraim's bestie snaps back. She is really annoyed. She shouts at Beck, asking him why he is starting to shit again. He was the one who dragged Professor Relin into their club the other time just to cause trouble. Now, here he is again, stirring up more nonsense. Beck smirks in response and says it's because they are showing off too much when they're commoners. He then mocks Ephraim by asking her what the hell she did to go from the bottom of the class to second. Ephraim meets him with a calm expression. She seems ready to fire back. She says even if she tells him, but before she can finish her sentence, Beck cuts her off. He throws out accusations, asking how someone with no background or money could earn such a jump. He asks her if she bribed Deculein. At that moment, Ephraim spins around, her eyes filled with anger. She asks him what he just said. Beck lifts his chin, wearing the usual smug look of someone too proud to care. He accuses her again, loudly, claiming everyone knows about her receiving private lessons from Professor Deculein. Ephraim bursts out in protest. She refuses to let that lie spread. She yells at Beck that she never had. Sylvia notices the rising tension between them. Beck refuses to stop. He questions how someone not even from the academy could rise so fast. In his mind, it all makes sense now. He says Deculein must have helped her on purpose. He even goes as far as suggesting Deculein probably wanted to give her that mana stone as a gift. That he can understand, since she has no parents or home. Before he can say anything more, a surge of magic bursts into the air. The classroom is filled with energy, heavy and crackling. Ephraim stands shaking, fists clenched tight. Her eyes flash with fury. Her emotions now burn out of control. One more insult and she looks ready to explode. She dares him to say it again. Beck, not the kind to back down, especially to someone of lower status, fires back with mockery. He asks her if she thinks he won't. It seems like he wants things to escalate. Ephraim tells him to go ahead and say it. Sylvia, who has been quietly observing the heated exchange, shows concern as the situation inches toward chaos. Ephraim looks ready to snap. But before anything can happen, a hand reaches out. Her bestie pulls her back. The grip is firm but caring. She speaks softly, reminding Ephraim not to lose control. A punishment now would erase everything she's worked for. The words hit their mark. Ephraim freezes. She remembers the lesson from Deculein. A magician must stay calm, no matter what the provocation. Striking someone like Beck would not only bring punishment, but it would also stain her progress. All the effort, all the growth, it would mean nothing. She takes a breath, then gently moves her bestie's hand away. She is still burning with emotion, but she forces a smile. She thanks her quietly, admitting she let her emotions take over. The anger hasn't vanished, but she lets it go. She smirks and calls Beck a brainless idiot who doesn't deserve her attention. The words hit hard. Beck stiffens in fury, unable to believe what he just heard. He demands a response, but Ephraim says nothing. Instead, she turns to her bestie with a cheerful tone and suggests grabbing something to eat. Her bestie agrees without hesitation. The two of them walk away together, leaving Beck behind, trembling and speechless. His voice follows them, angry and frustrated, but they don't stop. They don't look back. Sylvia watches every step from the shadows. She studies Ephraim with quiet calculation. A faint smile touches her lips, one that doesn't reach her eyes. Something interesting is brewing, and she knows it. Later, outside the academy building, Ephraim is walking alone now. The anger hasn't faded. It clings to her chest like a weight. She grits her teeth, muttering under her breath. She tells herself that she held herself back thanks to her bestie, but she wonders what she should do about Beck. She is so mad that she won't be able to stand by anymore. Then, someone standing ahead catches her eye. The figure is calm and still. She stops in her tracks. It's Sylvia. Questions swirl in her head. She wonders why she is here and what does she want. Sylvia steps forward and softly asks Ephraim if they can talk. I hope that you liked today's video, and if you did, hit that like button as today's goal is 1,500 likes. Comment next part down below for the next part. Also, consider subscribing with the notification bell on to get notified as soon as a new video drops onto the channel. You can also join the channel to support me financially and watch videos before public release. I'll meet you in the next video. Until then, thanks for watching.